Fiat currencies have a long and diverse history, dating back to ancient times. The concept of fiat money, which is currency that is declared legal tender by a government but is not backed by a physical commodity such as gold or silver, has evolved over thousands of years. One of the earliest examples of a fiat currency can be traced back to China during the Song dynasty that lasted from 960 to 1279 AD. The Chinese government at that time issued paper money known as jiaozi, which was widely used for trade and commerce. This early form of fiat money paved the way for the development of modern paper currencies. The modern era of fiat currencies is characterized by the abandonment of the gold standard in the early 20th century. During the Great Depression of the 1930s, many countries suspended the convertibility of their currencies into gold due to economic instability. The Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944 established a fixed exchange rate system based on a U.S. dollar, which was pegged to gold. However, this system collapsed in the early 1970s, leading to the complete decoupling of major currencies from gold. Today, fiat currencies are the predominant form of money used around the world. They offer several advantages compared to other forms of currency, such as ease of use, portability, and stability. Governments have the flexibility to manipulate their money supply to control inflation and stimulate economic growth. Here is how the move toward a modern fiat currency in the United States began with President Franklin Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt campaigned on cutting government spending and balancing the budget. But once he got into office, he did the exact opposite. He spent more in an effort to create jobs and increase consumer demand. Roosevelt needed the government to print more money to cover his spending plans. Unfortunately, the Federal Reserve Act of 1914 required U.S. currency to be backed by 40% gold that was owned by the federal government. The government needed more gold to back the extra money Roosevelt wanted to print. So, on April 5, 1933, President Roosevelt signed an executive order that made gold ownership illegal. Americans were required to turn in their gold and were paid $20.67 per troy ounce. The 1934 Gold Reserve Act subsequently changed the statutory gold content of the U.S. dollar from $20.67 to $35 an ounce. This increased the value of gold. But what it really did was to devalue the U.S. dollar so that fewer ounces of gold were required to back U.S. currency. And so the Federal Reserve was free to print more paper money. That valuation remained in effect until August 15, 1971, when President Richard Nixon announced that the U.S. would no longer value the U.S. dollar with a fixed amount of gold. Since ownership of gold by Americans was still prohibited, this resulted in the abandoning of the gold standard for foreign exchange. The limitation on gold ownership in the United States was repealed after President Gerald Ford signed a bill legalizing private ownership of gold coins, bars, and certificates by an act of Congress, which went into effect December 31, 1974. Since that time, the U.S. dollar has been a pure fiat currency, backed by nothing other than the faith and credit of the U.S. government. In the United States, fiat currencies have a long and storied history. Following the American Revolution, the newly formed government issued continental currency as a way to finance the war effort. However, due to overprinting and lack of backing, the continental currency rapidly lost value, leading to hyperinflation and economic chaos. In 1792, the U.S. government established the first national currency, the U.S. dollar, which was backed by gold and silver. This system remained in place until 1971, when President Richard Nixon abandoned the gold standard, effectively making the U.S. dollar a fiat currency. Today, fiat currencies are used by nearly every country in the world as the primary medium of exchange. While they have advantages in terms of flexibility and stability, they also come with certain risks, such as inflation and devaluation. Central banks play a crucial role in managing fiat currencies, using monetary policy tools to control inflation and ensure economic stability. However, fiat currencies also face several challenges, including the risk of inflation, currency devaluation, and loss of confidence in the monetary system. Events such as hyperinflation in Zimbabwe in the 2000s and the collapse of the Venezuelan bolivar in recent years highlight the fragility of fiat currencies. The recent almost exponential rise in the price of gold could signal a massive loss of trust in the US dollar. It remains to be seen if the current administration can restore that trust.
While gold no longer serves as the basis for modern fiat currencies, its impact on fiat currencies which are backed by a government rather than a physical commodity is still significant. One of the key ways in which gold affects modern fiat currencies is through its role as a safe haven asset. When economic uncertainty looms, investors often flock to gold as a store of value, driving up its price. This can have a ripple effect on fiat currencies as well, as a rising price of gold can indicate a lack of trust in the value of paper money. Gold also has a direct impact on the value of fiat currencies through the concept of the gold standard. In the past, many countries pegged their currency to a specific amount of gold, meaning that the value of their money was directly tied to the value of gold. While the gold standard has largely been abandoned, the legacy of this system still influences the value of modern fiat currencies. Furthermore, gold can also affect the value of fiat currencies through its role in international trade. Gold is often used as a hedge against inflation and currency fluctuations, leading to increased demand during times of economic uncertainty. As a result, the value of gold can impact the value of fiat currencies in trading relationships between countries. Overall, gold continues to play a significant role in the global economy, and its influence on modern fiat currencies cannot be understated. While it may no longer serve as the basis for money, its status as a safe haven asset and store of value ensure that it will continue to hold sway over the value of fiat currencies for years to come.
Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. We truly appreciate your support and interest in our content. We hope you learned something valuable from this video. If so, please click the thumbs up, like button to let us know. Now, we recommend you watch this video next. It will further boost your knowledge and skills in this important area.